The cameras were rolling. The ceremony was almost over. The air in Copenhagen carried that quiet, royal calm, polished, poised, perfect. But then, something happened that no one expected. Princess Leonor turned toward Prince Christian, and made a gesture so gentle, so personal, that the entire crowd froze. It wasn't part of the ceremony. It wasn't scripted. It was real. And in that moment, Europe felt it, an emotional goodbye caught on camera. For months, rumors had swirled about their closeness. The whispers of affection, the stories of quiet meetings, the smiles that said more than any official statement ever could. But this time, it wasn't gossip. It was proof, a gesture that spoke louder than words. As the royal families of Spain and Denmark gathered in Copenhagen, everything seemed as it should be. Formal, respectful, and deeply symbolic. The two young heirs, the future Queen of Spain and the future King of Denmark, stood side by side, their composure flawless. Cameras captured every glance, every step, every movement. But as the closing anthem played, something shifted. Leonor looked at Christian, not as a royal, not as a princess, but as someone who knew she was about to leave someone she deeply cared about. She reached out. Just for a second, her hand brushed against his sleeve. A gesture so small that most might have missed it, but the cameras didn't. Neither did the millions watching around the world. In that fleeting moment, something broke through the polished walls of royal duty, emotion. The clip spread instantly. Social media erupted. Was that a goodbye? Did she just touch his arm? What does it mean? Royal experts began replaying the footage in slow motion. The look in her eyes, his expression afterward, and the subtle nod Christian gave as Leonor lowered her hand. It was brief, but heavy with meaning. To understand the power of that moment, you have to know what led to it. In the days leading up to the ceremony, speculation was already high. Reports from both Madrid and Copenhagen suggested that Leonor's stay in Denmark had been longer than expected. Behind the formal agenda, state dinners, public appearances, cultural visits, there had been private moments. Quiet conversations, shared dinners away from the press. And when it came time for her to return to Spain, insiders revealed she had hesitated. Not because of protocol, but because of emotion. One royal aide described it simply: she didn't want to say goodbye. Leonor and Christian's friendship, or perhaps something more, has grown over years of shared experiences. From early diplomatic gatherings to official youth programs and royal family events, their connection has deepened in plain sight. What began as friendship between two heirs became something undeniable, a bond neither nation could ignore. But royal life doesn't always allow for freedom of choice. With Leonor's future as the Queen of Spain and Christian's destiny tied to the Danish throne, their paths are already written by history. Every feeling, every decision, is filtered through the weight of expectation. And that's why her gesture struck such a deep chord. Because in a world where everything they do is planned, that moment wasn't. It was spontaneous, human, honest. After the ceremony, Leonor was seen stepping into her car, her composure still firm. But for a brief second, before the door closed, she looked back. Toward Christian. Their eyes met again, one last time. He smiled faintly. She nodded. Then she was gone. That was the goodbye. And for those who have followed their story, it was heartbreaking. But here's where the story deepens. Hours after the event, Danish media reported that Christian was unusually quiet at the post-ceremony reception. One journalist wrote, "He appeared thoughtful, distant, as if something important had just ended." In contrast, Spanish outlets focused on Leonor's expression during her flight back to Madrid, composed, but subdued. Even the palace photographers seemed to capture the melancholy. Every image from that day carried a certain gravity. The smiles looked softer. The eyes told a story words couldn't. By the next morning, headlines across Europe exploded, an emotional goodbye between Leonor and Christian. Royal gesture breaks the internet. Princess Leonor's touch that shook Europe. But not all saw it as a farewell. Some saw it as a message, quiet but hopeful. Because a few seconds before that touch, as the choir sang the final hymn, Christian had leaned slightly closer and whispered something. The microphones didn't catch it, but those nearby said Leonor smiled. Not a diplomatic smile, but one that seemed deeply personal. What did he say? No one knows for sure. But royal insiders speculate it might have been something simple, something real: "I'll see you soon." That theory gained strength a week later, when Spanish and Danish royal schedules showed a curious overlap. Both Leonor and Christian were set to attend a youth summit in Brussels, a seemingly official event that, for royal watchers, looked like much more. Coincidence? Or fate giving them another moment? Whether their paths will keep crossing remains uncertain. But what is certain is this: that brief, heartfelt gesture in Copenhagen reminded the world of something often forgotten about royalty: they are still human. Even under the weight of centuries-old crowns, they feel what we all feel. The ache of distance, the beauty of connection, the sting of goodbye. And perhaps that's why this moment resonated so deeply. Because it wasn't about a royal ceremony. It wasn't about titles, countries, or politics. It was about a young woman, standing on the edge of duty and love, reaching out one last time towards someone who meant something to her. That's the side of royalty we rarely see, the unspoken emotion behind the grandeur. The quiet heartbreak behind the pageantry. And as Europe continues to replay that video, as analysts dissect every frame, there's one truth that no one can deny: Princess Leonor's gesture wasn't for the cameras. It was for him, for Christian, a silent message, a wordless promise, a tender goodbye, and maybe, just maybe, not a final one. Because in the world of royalty, goodbyes are never truly the end. They're pauses in stories that time will one day resume. And so, as the video continues to spread, as millions hold their breath and wonder what comes next, the image remains: Leonor's hand, reaching out one last time, against a tide of duty and distance. A gesture that said what words could not. An emotional goodbye. Or, the beginning of something still unfolding.